Did you know that over 1.2 million people in the UK could face deportation under new 2025 immigration rules? That's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real possibility being discussed in government corridors right now. With tighter borders, new surveillance systems, and fast-track deportation agreements being signed, the UK is entering a new era of immigration enforcement like we've never seen before. But here's the twist. Not all of these people are illegal immigrants. Some are workers. Some are students. Some have been in the UK for years, quietly building their lives. So why is the government pushing for mass removals now? Is it about protecting the economy, winning elections, or something deeper happening behind the scenes? In this video, we break it all down. 10 key reasons why the UK is preparing for mass deportations in 2025. And trust me, some of these reasons will shock you. So let's get into it. Number 1. Post-Brexit power move. Since officially leaving the European Union, the UK has been on a mission to take back control of its borders. But 2025 marks a turning point. The new immigration policy is being described by insiders as the government's boldest attempt yet to redefine who can stay and who must go. Under post-Brexit law changes, freedom of movement is gone, and in its place are stricter residency checks, faster visa terminations, and expanded deportation powers. The message is clear. If you don't meet the new criteria, you're out. What makes this move even more significant is that it's not just targeting new arrivals. It's reaching into the lives of people who've been here for years, especially those whose status is uncertain or whose paperwork isn't perfect. Many migrants who arrived under older EU-friendly rules are suddenly finding themselves under threat. The system they once relied on no longer protects them, and for many, that realization is coming too late. The government defends these changes as a necessary correction, a way to regain control after years of what they call open-door chaos. But critics argue this is a political power play, designed to appeal to post-Brexit voters who feel let down. With elections on the horizon, some see this tough stance as less about immigration and more about winning back trust. Whether it's strategic governance or political theater, one thing is certain. 2025 is not just another policy update. It's a reset of the UK's immigration identity. Number 2. Strain on services. The UK is facing intense pressure on its public services, and immigration is right at the center of that debate. From overcrowded hospitals to housing shortages and stretched school systems, many citizens feel like the system is buckling, and politicians are pointing fingers. A 2025 Ipsos survey revealed that over 60% of the public believes immigration is directly contributing to the strain on the NHS and other essential services. Whether that belief is fully accurate or not, it's becoming a powerful political force that's shaping national policy. Government officials argue that the only way to ease this burden is to cut down the number of people relying on these services, starting with those who are in the country without legal status. The new policy introduces accelerated removal procedures for undocumented migrants, visa overstayers, and rejected asylum seekers, all under the justification of relieving the system. It's a narrative that sounds simple. Fewer people, less pressure. But real life isn't that straightforward. Among those targeted are individuals who work in the very sectors under strain: migrant nurses, care workers, and delivery drivers, raising serious ethical questions. Critics warn that this approach creates scapegoats out of vulnerable populations, while failing to address deeper issues like underfunding, resource mismanagement, and long-term planning failures. But in the eyes of many frustrated voters, immigration has become the face of their everyday struggles, from waiting weeks for a GP appointment to paying skyrocketing rents. This emotional connection, whether fair or not, is giving the government a green light to ramp up deportation efforts. And with mainstream support growing, 2025 might just be the year public frustration turns into policy reality. Number 3. Channel crossings crisis. Over 52,000 people crossed the English Channel illegally in 2024, a record-breaking figure that has turned a long-standing concern into what the government now calls a national emergency. Images of small boats arriving on southern beaches have flooded headlines, fueling public anxiety and political urgency. The UK government argues that without tough action, these numbers will only keep rising. In response, The 2025 immigration policy includes fast-track deportation measures, designed specifically to deal with irregular channel arrivals, often bypassing lengthy legal appeals. The Home Office claims that many of those arriving via small boats are not genuine refugees, but rather economic migrants exploiting the asylum system. Whether or not that's true in every case, this crisis has created the perfect storm for dramatic policy shifts. New agreements with countries like Rwanda and Albania are being used to send asylum seekers abroad while their cases are processed, sparking outrage from human rights groups and legal experts who call it a violation of international law. Still, the government insists that a strong message must be sent. Illegal entry will not be tolerated, and deportation is no longer a distant threat, it's immediate and real. But the bigger question remains, is this tough approach solving the problem, or just shifting it elsewhere? Critics argue that the root causes, conflict, poverty, climate displacement, aren't being addressed, and that deterrence won't work if people are fleeing life-or-death situations. At the same time, public fear is growing, and politicians know it. In many ways, the Channel crisis has become more than a border issue. It's now a symbol of lost control, and regaining that control has become a political priority. The 2025 deportation strategy, especially for boat arrivals, is proof that this issue is now at the heart of national policy. Number 4. Populist politics on the rise. As the UK gears up for the next general election, immigration has taken center stage, and not by accident. Populist rhetoric is sweeping across political parties, with leaders using strong anti-immigration messaging to rally support and energize their voter bases. The idea of mass deportations, once seen as extreme, is now being packaged as common-sense policy by politicians eager to show they are listening to the frustrations of ordinary people. The louder the public concern grows, the more forcefully politicians respond, creating a cycle of fear, promises, and reaction. What's driving this shift is more than just public opinion, it's political survival. Many MPs are now facing growing pressure from local constituencies demanding visible action on immigration. As a result, bold proposals like monthly deportation targets, digital surveillance of migrants, and stricter detention policies are being introduced to show results before the election. It's not just one party either. Both mainstream and fringe political groups are jumping into the immigration debate, often using dramatic language to gain media attention and online traction. The more outrageous the claim, the more it spreads, and the more it influences policy direction. But this rush to satisfy the populist mood comes at a cost. Experts warn that when immigration policy is driven by politics rather than data, it can lead to poor decision-making, human rights violations, and long-term damage to international reputation. Yet for many politicians, those warnings take a back seat to the urgency of the ballot box. With election season heating up, immigration is no longer just a policy issue, it's a political weapon. And in 2025, that weapon is being used to its fullest force, reshaping laws, pushing mass deportation agendas, and fueling one of the most divisive national debates in decades. Number 5. Visa overstayers in the spotlight. Behind the headlines about asylum seekers and border crossings lies a quieter, yet massive, issue: visa overstayers. As of early 2025, it's estimated that over 150,000 people are living in the UK after their visas have expired. These are individuals who initially entered the country legally, on student visas, work permits, or tourist visas, but never left. For years, many slipped under the radar, living in legal grey areas, working off the books, and avoiding contact with authorities. But now, that's changing fast. The new immigration policy is putting a heavy focus on locating and removing overstayers, using advanced technology like AI-driven databases, mobile tracking, and facial recognition at travel checkpoints. In partnership with telecom providers and financial institutions, the Home Office can now flag unusual activity, like someone using a UK bank account long after their visa expired. This digital crackdown is a game changer, making it easier than ever to trace and target people who would have once remained invisible to the system. But the consequences are harsh. Families who've built lives in the UK for years are now facing unexpected removals, even if they've been contributing to the economy and staying out of legal trouble. Critics argue that the government is treating all overstayers the same, ignoring the difference between those who pose a threat and those simply caught in complex paperwork or struggling with legal fees. Still, with public support growing and the tools now in place, the UK is moving forward with what some call a zero-tolerance policy. In this new system, missing a visa deadline, even by a few weeks, could mean losing everything, from your job to your home, and even your right to stay in the country. Before we dive into the next reason, we'd love to hear your take. Do you think these policies are fair, or a step too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We seriously read them all. And if you're finding value in this breakdown, please support our effort with just one click. Hit that subscribe button and help us keep content like this coming. Number 6. Global deportation deals. Behind the UK's aggressive deportation push is a web of international deals and return agreements. Some public, others quietly signed behind closed doors. Countries like Rwanda, India, and Albania have agreed to take back deported nationals in exchange for aid, investment, or favorable trade terms. These arrangements aren't just diplomatic gestures. They're strategic tools that allow the UK to offload thousands of undocumented or rejected individuals who previously couldn't be returned due to legal or logistical barriers. The message is simple. The UK is no longer willing to be a final destination for those who fail its immigration checks. These deals have fast-tracked removals like never before. In some cases, deportations are being carried out within 48 hours of a failed appeal, bypassing what used to be months or even years of legal limbo. Flights to Rwanda, once seen as symbolic, are now part of an active deportation route. Albania has agreed to take back hundreds per month under a new bilateral agreement. India, one of the UK's biggest partners, has also been drawn into the conversation, with the UK pressing for cooperation on return flights for overstayers and rejected asylum seekers. But these global deals raise serious ethical and legal concerns. Human rights organizations warn that many deportees are being returned to unsafe or unstable environments, with little to no reintegration support. Some of these countries face high levels of poverty, corruption, or violence, making deportation a potential life-threatening punishment rather than a legal consequence. Still, for UK politicians, these deals represent progress, proof that the country is taking action. Whether seen as diplomacy or coercion, one thing is clear. These partnerships are now the backbone of the 2025 deportation strategy, making mass removal a practical and increasingly common reality. Number 7. Jobs and wage fears. One of the most powerful arguments used to justify stricter immigration controls is the idea that migrants are taking jobs and driving down wages. This belief, while debated among economists, has gained massive traction among working-class communities across the UK. In sectors like construction, agriculture, hospitality, and even parts of the healthcare system, locals claim they are being pushed out or underpaid due to the availability of low-wage migrant labor. Politicians have seized on this narrative, using it to justify tougher immigration laws and an expanded deportation policy in 2025. The new policy includes measures designed to limit low-skilled immigration, tighten employer checks, and prioritize British workers in job placements. Home Office officials are increasing inspections of companies suspected of hiring undocumented workers or paying below minimum wage. In addition, certain visa categories have been quietly scrapped or made harder to renew, reducing the flow of migrant workers and opening the door for faster removals. The government insists this is about restoring fairness to the job market and ensuring that wages rise by cutting down on labor oversupply. However, critics argue that this narrative oversimplifies the issue. In many cases, migrants are filling jobs that British workers simply don't want, particularly in demanding or low-paying sectors like elder care or seasonal farming. Removing these workers through mass deportation could actually worsen staff shortages, disrupt businesses, and slow economic growth. But the emotional appeal of protecting local jobs is politically powerful and hard to argue against in a struggling economy. In the eyes of many voters, deportation is not just about immigration control. It's about economic justice, even if the long-term impact remains uncertain. And in 2025, that belief is helping to reshape the entire immigration debate. Number 8. Security and extremism fears. In recent years, immigration has increasingly been tied to national security concerns, and 2025 is no exception. Following several high-profile incidents and intelligence reports, the UK government has warned that some individuals entering the country under asylum or student visas may have links to extremist groups or criminal networks. While these cases represent a tiny fraction of total migrants, they've triggered a massive public and political reaction. The fear of hidden threats has become a key driver behind the push for faster deportations and tighter entry controls. The government has responded with a more aggressive policy, empowering the Home Office to immediately deport individuals deemed a national security risk, even without a full trial or lengthy investigation. Enhanced background checks, biometric tracking, and cooperation with foreign intelligence services are all part of the 2025 security framework. Authorities now have the right to revoke visas, detain suspects, and remove them within days if deemed necessary for public safety. This hardline approach is being framed as essential to keeping the country safe, especially in a world of rising geopolitical tension and digital radicalization. But critics warn of a dangerous precedent. Using national security as a blanket justification for deportation can lead to abuses of power, wrongful removals, and a breakdown in civil liberties. Human rights groups have raised concerns that people are being deported on suspicion alone, without transparent evidence or due process. Still, in a climate of fear, many citizens are willing to trade legal safeguards for a stronger sense of security. The connection between immigration and extremism, whether real, exaggerated, or politically manipulated, has become one of the most persuasive arguments for mass deportation. And in 2025, it's shaping how policy is written, how threats are defined, and who gets to stay in the UK. Number 9. Asylum backlog breakdown. The UK's asylum system is currently overwhelmed, with over 170,000 applications still pending as of 2025. Many of these cases have been sitting unresolved for years, caught in a system plagued by delays, legal appeals, and inconsistent rulings. This massive backlog has not only slowed down the processing of genuine refugees, but it has also created what critics call a shadow population, thousands of people living in limbo, without the right to work, settle, or leave. For the government, this has become a symbol of failure, and they're using it to justify a dramatic reset of the system. Under the new immigration strategy, the UK is introducing fast-track refusals and removals for applicants from so-called safe countries, with limited options to appeal. The goal is to reduce the case backlog by clearing out large numbers quickly, especially those deemed unlikely to qualify for asylum under tightened criteria. This shift marks a clear change in tone, from careful case-by-case consideration to a more sweeping, numbers-driven approach. Ministers argue that by removing people with weak claims, the country can free up resources to protect those truly in need. But this approach risks sweeping up legitimate refugees alongside those with fraudulent claims. Human rights advocates warn that speeding up deportations in the name of efficiency increases the risk of wrongful removals, sending vulnerable individuals back to unsafe conditions. Even former Home Office staff have expressed concern that pressure to meet targets could lead to rushed decisions and administrative errors. Still, the public appetite for action remains strong, and the asylum backlog is seen by many as proof the system is broken. For the UK government, mass deportation is not just a policy. It's being framed as the only way to fix a crisis that has spiraled out of control. Number 10. Tech-driven enforcement. In 2025, the UK's immigration system is no longer relying solely on paperwork and manual checks. Technology is now at the heart of enforcement. From AI-powered visa tracking to biometric ID systems and digital surveillance, the government has quietly built one of the most advanced immigration monitoring networks in Europe. Every visa application, travel record, bank transaction, and even GP registration can now be cross-referenced with immigration databases in real time. This shift has made it easier than ever for authorities to detect visa overstayers, track undocumented migrants, and enforce deportation orders swiftly. New systems rolled out this year include automated alerts for when someone's visa expires, facial recognition at airports and train stations, and a controversial digital footprint analysis that monitors spending and movement patterns. These tools mean that people who could once remain under the radar for years can now be flagged and located in days. The Home Office has even partnered with private tech firms to develop predictive systems that identify people at high risk of violating immigration laws, raising both practical advantages and ethical concerns. Supporters argue that this is exactly what the UK needs: a smarter, more efficient immigration system that cuts down on fraud, speeds up deportations, and prevents abuse. But critics warn that the use of surveillance and AI could lead to serious privacy violations and mistaken identity cases. There's also concern that migrants are being treated more like data points than human beings, with little room for personal context or appeals. Still, the momentum is clear. With technology removing previous barriers to enforcement, deportation is no longer a slow and uncertain process. It's becoming automated, targeted, and constant. In this new digital era, the UK's immigration policy has evolved from paperwork to programming, and the results are already being felt. The UK's 2025 immigration policy isn't just another update. It's a complete transformation of how the country views, processes, and removes non-citizens. From political pressure to public frustration, from technological surveillance to international deals, every piece of this puzzle is shaping a future where mass deportation is not only possible, but actively pursued. For some, this is a long overdue move to restore order and national identity. For others, it's a dangerous path that risks human rights, international reputation, and moral integrity. What makes this moment so intense is not just the scale of the changes, but the speed at which they're happening. New laws, AI systems, and legal loopholes are coming together to create the fastest and most aggressive deportation system the UK has ever seen. Whether it's overstayed visas, asylum backlogs, or fears of extremism, every narrative is being used to justify one thing: removal at scale. And while the headlines may shout numbers, the real impact will be felt in individual lives: families separated, futures rewritten, and communities reshaped. So, the big question is this the solution to a broken system, or a political distraction from deeper problems? That's something every viewer must decide for themselves. But one thing's clear: 2025 is not business as usual. It's a year that could redefine who belongs in Britain, and who doesn't. We've unpacked a lot in this video, but now we want to hear from you. Do you think these deportation plans are necessary or dangerous? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. If you found this video informative, please consider supporting our channel. We put hours into research, writing, and editing so you don't have to. All it takes is one click. Subscribe now, and help us keep going.